There's an event happening tonight for survivors of trauma. Dr. Alistair Chapman, Division Chief for Acute Care Surgery at Corewell Health, joins us today to talk about the event taking place at Meijer Gardens tonight. Thank you so much for being here with us. So just talk more about the Trauma Survivors event. Tell us about that.
Yeah, sure. We are joining trauma centers across the country today to celebrate National Trauma Survivors Day. This is a really special day. You're actually probably meeting me on my favorite day of the year. And this is an event where we bring survivors of trauma, their families, and caregivers all together to reconnect, to reflect on the power and heroism that a lot of our patients sustain to go through and recover from trauma. It's powerful, it's emotional, as you can imagine, it's really uplifting. Many of our survivors don't remember the people that took care of them in those initial critical moments. Our clinical staff, on the other hand, often don't know how well their patients have done. And so it becomes this full circle moment where we get to reflect on both sides of that spectrum.
Yeah, how does it feel to see so many people come together to celebrate life and recovery?
Yeah, it's the only way I can describe it is it's really deeply moving. We get the opportunity to care for people in their most vulnerable moments, and to see people come back with their families, laughing, joking with us as providers is just humbling.
So expand on this. What defines a trauma?
Yeah, so trauma is any sudden injury that results in a life-threatening condition. That can be anything from a car crash, motorcycle crash, to a fall, violence, or other catastrophic accidents. We care for about 4,000 patients a year that sustain trauma. We're the second busiest trauma center in the state, and really pride ourselves on providing this service for our community.
Can you share a few things that you've heard from survivors, some real-life examples here?
Oh, sure. Yeah, we have 18 incredible survivors come into our event tonight. We have one patient that we'll be featuring that she was in a motor vehicle crash and lacerated her aorta. That's the main artery that delivers blood and oxygen to the rest of the heart, and to the rest of the body, and she survived that injury. She's a mental health professional, and her goal was to get back to work. She's back to work. We have another patient that we're featuring that was struck by a vehicle while he was working. His goal was always to be an entrepreneur, and he's bought the business that he was working for at the time of his injury. These are the kind of stories that really fuel us to go back and to do this work on a daily basis.
And you'll be seeing a lot of familiar faces there tonight.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So to have a level 1 trauma center here in Grand Rapids, talk about what that means for Grand Rapids, for our community.
Sure. Yeah, the Level 1 Trauma Center is essentially a signature and endorsement by the American College of Surgeons that we can provide the highest level of care at any time for any injury. And I always think about it like a fire department. You really never want to have to use them. But if your house is on fire, you're in a car crash, you're certainly glad that we have a great fire department and they're there to help you. And so in the background of our community, we're functioning 24/7 to provide care for patients who sustain traumatic injuries. In addition, being a Level 1 Trauma Center means that we're also involved in trauma research, we're involved in injury prevention, and we're also heavily involved in training the future trauma professionals, other doctors, nurses, technicians, etc. For our community, what I think it comes down to is if you or a loved one sustains a traumatic injury, that you can get the best care and have the best chance of recovery, the best chance of survival right here at home.
So this event is packed for tonight, but
it is.
It happens every year, right?
It does.
So maybe next year for someone if they're interested?
Absolutely. We love to have our survivors there. We also love to have our clinical and operational teams there to be a part of this event. It's doubled in size from last year to this year, and so people really see and feel the impact. And yeah, we'll absolutely be doing it again next year.
Okay, anything else that I missed? Do you want to share?
No, I think just that, we want to highlight that when a patient sustains a trauma, it doesn't define them. Really, what it's about is what happens next. And tonight, we get to celebrate survivors of trauma and their heroism. So if you or other people know individuals that have been through a traumatic incident, this is a great opportunity to celebrate them. Finally, I want to say, thank you to our community for supporting the work we do. We're really grateful for the level of support that we have to have this incredible center right here in Grand Rapids.
Thank you so much for coming on, Dr. Chapman. Appreciate you.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you so much.